Hey folks, Jay here from Gliding Along. Today we're talking windshields. If you've ever thought about swapping out your stock windshield for something different, I'd like to talk to you about my experiences and what I chose for mine. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're not going to talk a lot about the stock windshield here because obviously you know what that looks like, you know what size they are. There are a couple things that you need to consider right off the bat if you're going to change. The first thing is are you going to look through the windshield or are you intended on looking over the windshield? Because both of those things matter. Now, myself coming from a Road King onto the Tri-Glide, I got to where I really enjoyed looking through a windshield. I rode for a lot of years, a lot of different bikes that didn't have windshields. And hey, if I'm riding by myself, a lot of times I still enjoy doing that. But the type of riding, as I've gotten older, the type of riding that I do, we tend to ride 2 to 3, sometimes 400 miles at a shot rather than just those 50-mile trips or maybe even 100-mile trips. And I really, on my Road King that had the windshield, I really got to where I enjoyed it a lot. So that's going to be what you need to decide. Now, whether you're riding a Road Glide or the Tri-Glide or an Ultra, whatever the case may be, anything that has a fairing with a windshield, you're going to have to make that decision first of all. So do you want to see over the windshield or do you want to look through the windshield? Once you make that decision, I would say probably the first measurement that you probably ought to take is set yourself flat on the seat, and you're going to want to look straight ahead. Then take your tape measure, set it right on top of your fuel filler cap where it sets, and take a measurement to the center part of your eyes, right in between your eyes. Take a measurement to that position. So what that's going to give you is a length. Like for example, the center of mine is going to be roughly 14 inches. Now, I'm 5'10", but each of you are going to be different because the distance from our torso to our sight line is going to be different. So you're going to need to do that for yourself. But make sure you take this measurement. Don't just decide that you want a 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch, whatever the case may be, without taking this measurement. And you want to get that in that center of your vision. Now, where that's really going to matter is in those cases where you're going to want to look over the windshield. And that's going to really matter in that case, especially if you're talking about going with a Clockworks, let's say a Clockworks windshield that has that recurve place in it. Because if you get a windshield that's too short, when you begin to try to look through that recurve, that vision can become distorted. So make sure you get this measurement. As I said, set your tape on the top of your fuel filler cap and then come up to the center of your vision looking straight ahead. If you're wanting to look above the windshield, then what you're going to want to do is measure down about an inch below what that sight line is. If you want to look over, you're going to want to go up an inch or higher depending on the type of riding you want to do. Honestly, I would say if you're going to spend a lot of time touring and you're going to wear a half helmet or a beanie type helmet, then you're probably going to want that windshield to be taller. You want to get that off of you, because here's something you need to take into consideration as well: your passenger. Now I'm going to show you on the Tri-Glide. You immediately see the difference between the height that I had setting in the operator's seat and setting as the passenger. So if you short this, then what's going to happen is, while it may be clear for you, you're going to start sending that wind and buffeting into your passenger. And if you ride a lot of two-up riding, that's something you're going to need to take into consideration. All right, the next measurement that you're going to want to take as you're looking at these is, you want to take this and remember that there is probably a good inch that sets below this, where these bolts screw in to the, or for the hardware fasteners for your windshield, about an inch. But you want to take that measurement on the outside to give you a distance of where you want to be. I'll show you, for example, I'll show you a stock windshield against this. I might as well go ahead and tell you, I chose to go with a Clearview shield, and we'll talk about that more in just a little bit. All right. Okay, now you'll see I'm going to put the stock windshield up against my Clearview shield, and you'll notice that I went with a little taller shield, about 1 inch taller than what it was from the factory, but I wanted that extra height really to help with the buffeting and the with my passenger. So a stock windshield, for example, stock windshield is going to be about, let's just call it, for round figures, let's just call it 11.5 for round figures. And it's going to be just a little shy of that, but let's just call it 11.5 for round figures. Now, this Clearview shield, that I purchased is going to place us at about 12.5 inches from this bottom measurement, about 12.5 inches. So you can see the difference between what the stock shield would be and what this Clearview shield would be. Now, I will also tell you that through the course of my time in riding, when I first bought this bike, all right, I bought a clockwork shield. I love the way it looks. I'm going to show it to you in just a minute. I love the way it looks. I didn't measure anything. I just saw the shield that I liked. I took a general idea of what the stock windshield was. I tried to make some decisions about what was happening with that stock windshield and what size I might need in a Clockworks, and I bought one. And before I left the dealership, I had them put it on there. I put the clear one in a bag. I brought it home, put it in the trunk, brought it home, and I forgot about it. Well, hey, it looked great, and I really enjoyed it. And I rode with that windshield for just about one full season. But here's what happened. What I did was I bought a dark windshield, and I'm going to show you the differences here in just a minute. I'm going to tell you that over the course of my riding season, while I thought it looked great on the bike, its functionality wasn't that great for me. I'm not telling you not to do it. This is just my experience. So what happened was I lost all of this visibility, and I'll show you here in just a minute. I'll lay that Clockwork shield up against the front of this one, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so what you're going to do next is take this measurement, as I said, from this lower fastener point to the top of your windshield. And you want to try to bring those things into line with that vision. You may need some help in order to do that if you get a second person to come out, and you'll want to take that measurement that gives you from here out into the point of the between the eyes again. All right, now the stock shield. To give you an idea, the stock shield that comes from the factory on the 21 Tri-Glide is approximately 11.5 inches. It's going to be just a little shorter, but just to give you the idea, it's 11.5 inches. The Clearview shield that I decided to go with was 12.5 inches. The reason why I did that, I went just a little taller, and honestly, it's about 1.5 inches wider around the side, is just to help with the buffeting more for my passenger. Now, the stock windshield did fine for me, but as I said, and I showed you in that earlier block, passenger sits much higher. And so what we're wanting to do is to get this airflow up above even our passenger. All right, now then, I got to be honest with you. What I did when I bought my Tri-Glide was I made a decision that I wanted to change out the windshield. And so what I did was I started watching a lot of videos prior to bringing my bike home, and I really like the Clockworks windshield. And listen, I'm not throwing any shade on Clockworks, and if you like them, fantastic. It was totally my decision what I bought. I was not influenced by anything other than some of the videos I watched. I like the idea behind the recurve. I enjoy that. But I was not happy with my shield, and I'll show you why. Because what I did was I swapped out this stock windshield for the Clockworks before I ever brought it home, and it looked really good on the bike, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you why it became a problem. I want you to look. Just simply, you'll see. Look at my image through this particular shield. That's smoke colored. This is my image, obviously, this is my image through the stock windshield. You'll see it's clear. All right, now then, I'm going to show you the Clockworks. Now you see why I wasn't real happy about the Clockworks shield. Now again, that was my choice. Nobody influenced me to pick the color that I did. This is the dark shield. And I'll be honest with you, I love the way that it looked on the bike. I loved it. And I really thought that it set off the color of the bike. And I'll be honest with you too, this recurve feature of the Clockworks windshield, it does make that windshield operate as though it's probably an extra 3 inches taller. You can take your hand while you're going down the road and put it up, and you can really feel that air going out above where that Clockworks goes. But what the problem is, as I said, and I'm gonna set this down. I'm gonna set this down on the front of the bike so you can see what I'm talking about and the problem that I had with this windshield. All right. So you can see just based on that move, right? So you can see where my field of vision was, right? Just by placing that over that windshield. You can see how much vision that I lost. So, for example, just let me show you. So from here down, right? I'm going to guesstimate a good 10 inches of vision I lost by looking through that Clockworks. Couldn't see it. Now granted, it was intended to look over that windshield, and I did, but I really missed having that extra distance, that extra sight distance in front of me. Now, I suppose you could say, hey, it had a purpose. It allowed me to, I stayed further back away from vehicles, and I tried to be very careful about, you know, as I was approaching traffic and when I was parking and things like that. But here's where the problem really, for me, where I really noticed a big problem. And that is this. as I was riding, a lot of the terrain, I live in central West Virginia, and so like most of us, regardless of where you're riding, you like those uh, back secondary roads, those secondary routes, right? The twisties and so on. But also you have the general contour of the road surface goes up and down, not just side to side and around curves. So here's what's happening. As you're going down the road on that bike and you've lost that distance in the front, whenever you come to a rise in the road, I would be totally blind as to what was on the other side of that rise for a good second, um, maybe a second and a half, no visibility. Where I live, right, we have a lot of deer, a lot of animals that cross the road. Uh, you're forever. Somebody is already an automobile, or somebody has struck a possum, a squirrel, a deer, something. Uh, and I hate to admit, potholes, right? So all of those things create hazards. And if they're laying on the other side of that embankment, I've lost all visibility of that road until the nose of my bike levels back out. So if it's in that frame, then you can see what's going to happen. Now, obviously, if you're riding a tri-glide, most of these hazards that you come in contact with, you have to consciously decide, all right, which wheel am I going to take that hazard with? I'm probably going to hit it with one of the three. So I've got to make a decision. Generally, as a trike rider now, for this beginning of my second season, I'll generally try to take it with one of the rear wheels. But you can see, if I'm making that decision late, right? It's a second or second and a half into that decision. By the time I notice that it's there, now I don't get that reactionary time. Now I'm making a quick movement one way or another, or I'm braking. Neither one of those things are real quick or good to do necessarily on a trike. Now, I'm not worried about them tipping over, and I'm not worried about losing control and so on. But again, I've got to take my passenger into consideration as well. So for me, I've got a good hold on the handlebars. I've made a decision, okay, I'm going to maneuver left, I'm going to maneuver right. My passenger has become comfortable as we're coming down the road. They may not have hold of those hand rails back there. They may not be prepared for that emergency maneuver that you're making at that time. They also have not lost the sight distance because they're looking over your head or above all of this that has been occurring back there. So you really need to consider, do I want to stick with clear? Do I want smoked? And that's what you see here, the smoked Clearview shield. Or do I want to go dark? Now, I will tell you that the dark Clearview, this is not just because this is a clockwork shield. The only reason why this one is not where you can't see through it is because it's not dark, it's smoked. But any dark shield is going to do that. And again, I'm gonna show you. If you can't see my eyes, then I can't see you. And obviously I can't see the camera at that point. You can see just how dark that is. And hey, look, we're out here on a sunshiny day, and so you just can't see through that windshield. So here's why I'm telling you that. If you decide that you're going to go with a dark shield, my recommendation would be to, number one, make sure that it's going to be a windshield that you're looking over, not through. You're definitely going to want to do that. Number two, if it's going to be one that you're going to look through, then I wouldn't recommend dark at all. I got to be honest with you. I love this Clearview shield, and maybe we'll talk about it just a little bit here in just a few minutes. But even as a smoke shield after dark, it restricts your view. It doesn't make it to where you can't see, but you can tell a distinct difference between looking through this smoke shield and having a clear shield. You can really tell. So I would almost say if you're going to do a lot of night riding, then you might want to consider sticking with just a clear shield. If you're like me and 95% of your riding is in good weather and daylight conditions, then the smoke windshield's never going to be a problem for you. One thing I can tell you, and I have to be honest, is I have not rode with this windshield in the rain yet, so I can't give you any idea of how it's going to operate as far as the visibility in the rain. I don't think it's going to be bad because, as you can see, you can still see through the windshield very, very clear. I'm sure even with me standing behind here, you can still see my shirt, you can see my hands, and you can see how well visibility is through this windshield. I do like this extra little bit of tint. Again, it's aesthetically pleasing, I think. I know it's a personal choice, but I think it looks good with the bike, and I do think it does add some functionality to actually using the tinted ability of the windshield itself. So I really enjoy that. Okay, let's just talk specifically Clearview shield for just a couple minutes. As I said, I made a decision to go with the Clearview shield, and it's in the smoked format. I will tell you as we get here a little closer, the first thing you'll notice about it is it does have the Clearview label here in the corner, and you can see that the quality of this shield, and I really appreciate that as well. Also, I want you to notice it does have a slight recurve as well. You can see that there's a slight recurve with it. So that was one of the reasons why I chose not to go any taller than what I did with the Clearview shield. Now we're looking through to the seat, obviously. Let's take one from the driver's position. Okay, we're seated on the 21 Tri-Glide, and I'm going to bring the camera up to about the point or the middle of my screen onto the middle of my eyesight, so you can see what I'm seeing as I look through the windshield. And you can see visibility is fantastic as we would be facing forward. Also, you'll notice the recurve edge of the top of the windshield. Okay, so that's a look at the windshields for the 21 Tri-Glide. Your situation may be different depending on what type of bike you're riding, but here's the thing. The design, the height, and the colors are all going to basically be the same regardless. If you've got this batwing fairing, then you're going to have similar type experiences regardless of what the actual bike is that they're mounted on. So I hope that helps you, and I hope that you found this interesting. If you did, please give me a like for the content that we've got here. I want to try to continue to put out good content of my experiences of what I'm doing. Maybe it'll save you some money in the future. Maybe it'll help you to make a decision about what you're going to purchase in your upgrades for your bike. All right, thanks for joining. Remember to like and subscribe. And again, my name is Jay, and this is Gliding Along. Thanks again, and God bless.